In California, we have the finest justice system in the country, maybe the world. It is critical that we preserve and protect our independence and impartiality. So last fall, the Chief Justice created the Commission for Impartial Courts. He named 87 distinguished experts from all over the state to 4 task forces like this one. They've been working hard to gather information and eventually make recommendations to the Judicial Council. The Commission recently sponsored its first public fact-finding forum. Commissioners, guests, and the media heard from 10 influential speakers to further define the threats to the judiciary and to identify strategies for defending the court's impartiality.
It's taken us over 200 years to develop the system, but it can be gone in an instant.
The Chief Justice from Ohio was there with a warning. He said more than half a dozen states have endured bruising, nasty judicial elections. In Ohio, special interest groups sponsored a very expensive run of unauthorized attack ads like this one.
Alice Resnick, is justice for sale?
The campaign earned Ohio the moniker as, I guess, the poster child for how not to select judges. We were not prepared for that campaign. This is one reason I think I'm here, is because we had no idea that this was going to occur.
And there is nothing unique about California that prevents these attacks from spreading to our court system.
Justice Moyer says one of the most troubling trends is all the cash pouring into judicial races. Millions of dollars bought airtime for attack ads in Ohio, Wisconsin, Michigan, Illinois, Washington, Alabama, and Mississippi. In Wisconsin's Supreme Court race last year, special interest groups spent about $3 million on TV ads. It worked. The sitting justice was defeated.
Tell Louis Butler, victims, not criminals.
The $64,000 question to ask is, who is paying for all this? And it is by and large not going to be the average litigant who has to come to court. It is the special interests, the business communities, the lawyers who are going to appear regularly before those judges. They are the ones spending for justice.
And voters draw conclusions when they see judges raising money for elections.
Our faith in the legal system is destroyed if we think the judge is going to be influenced by political pressure or money or anything other than the pure merits of the case.
Nearly every survey concludes that 3 out of 4 people believe the need to raise campaign contributions affect the decisions of judges. And that's in direct conflict, of course, with the premise of our system of independence, impartiality, no influence.
Judges should not, cannot, must not be politicians. We cannot test the political winds when we're called upon to make difficult decisions.
The speakers agreed judges are indeed accountable to the rule of law and to our Constitution. Professor Levinson offered her standards of excellence.
Independent. I don't mean that the judge, he or she, gets to make up their own rules. It does mean that they, however, are governed by the law and their ethical obligations. Impartial means that they're not in debt to any person who helped them to get on the bench, or they may need their help in the future.
And they acknowledged that public scrutiny is appropriate, public criticism expected, but there should be limits.
It seems that every unpopular decision by a judge in a high-stakes case these days is followed by some claims that the judge is an activist or is anti-democratic or should be replaced or should be recalled or disciplined, publicly discredited. This is a partisan game, and both sides share equal blame.
Personal attacks on judges and efforts to undermine the entire judicial function should be out of bounds.
And if special interests can hound a judge out of office or so intimidate him or her that their decisions become suspect, if every decision that a judge makes is going to be judged by the popularity of its outcome as opposed to by its process, then the public just will not have any respect for the decisions of our courts, and our justice system effectively will have been lost.
Solutions were offered as well. Former Governor Pete Wilson wants to revise the state constitution. He wants to prevent groups from forcing judicial candidates to reveal their personal views. Former Governor Gray Davis wants all judicial candidates evaluated, and that information should be made public, he says.
I found that information to be very valuable in the decisions I made, and I'm sure the voters would as well.
The absolute need for public education was also stressed.
The more knowledgeable people are about the role of the courts, according to research by Justice at Stake, the more likely they are to reject efforts to limit the authority of the judiciary and to support the historic mission of the courts.
We have, in my opinion, the finest judiciary in the world, and we have to maintain that. And I think the people of the state of California should demand nothing less.
The day was a success. Commission members were grateful for the input.
I think we learned a lot, and I think we'll go back to work in our task forces and follow up on some of the recommendations.